I got a really tough one today, and I'm going to give some tough answers, so this may take a little while. Dear Mr. Andrew Klavan, the name is withheld, which is fine. As a sophomore in high school, I was molested by my dad. 4 years later, I was raped at a party at my friend's house by a guy who I considered a close friend. I never reported either incident and have only been able to confide in one of my friends about these occurrences. I've attempted to be in romantic relationships since these things happened, but I quickly begin to feel overwhelmed and claustrophobic, causing me to end the relationship before it can develop into anything serious. I would someday like to settle down and have a family, but I can't seem to get past trust issues that I've developed, especially with men. How do you recommend that I overcome this distrust so it doesn't continually hold me back? So I have a two-part answer to this. One is pretty standard, and the other is a hard saying, as they say about the Bible. I have something hard I have to say about this, and some of you may disagree, but I'm going to tell you what it is. The first part, this straightforward part, is in this situation, you need to get therapy. I always feel kind of weak. It's a weak answer to say get therapy, like I'm punting. But there are certain things. I mean, if you came to me and said, "Oh, I have a mole on my cheek and it's changing color and bleeding," and I said, "Well, you should pray and have an upbeat attitude," I would be letting you down. I say, "No, you got to go to a dermatologist," right? When you have a wound, the kind of wound that you get from your father molesting you or from being raped, you really need to work it out. I don't know so much about the rape, but your father molesting you is something you have to get. You have to rearrange the way you perceive relationships, because a father doing that just damages your ability to bond with other people. And you got to find a good therapist. You got to find a therapist you like. You got to shop around until you find one who's smart enough to deal with it. But you got to find that. Here's the hard part. Let me see how to get into this, because it really is a difficult thing to say. Sigmund Freud did not believe in God. He was a staunch atheist, and he believed that God was an illusion that we created by projecting our fathers into the sky. We perfect the idea of our father, and we project him into the sky, and that's the illusion that is God. Now, I think by all logic and by any reason, it must be the exact opposite way around. There is absolutely no evolution. There are plenty of evolutionary reasons why we should expect our father to feed us and support us and be strong enough to protect us, but there's no evolutionary reason I can think of why we expect our fathers to be just and wise and kind and merciful. I think what it really is that we project God onto our fathers. We know who God is in our hearts. We are born with that knowledge. And when we see our father, he is in a godlike position over us, and we expect him to behave the way we would want God to, the way we expect God to behave. And of course, every father fails in that. None of us is perfect, but you get a lot of cred with your kids for at least trying to toe that line, to be wise, to be just, to be kind, to be good, even though you know you're not going to be perfect. When a father transgresses to this degree to sexual molestation, you've lost him. You've lost that representative of God in your life. And I have seen again and again, because I've lived a long time, I've known a lot of people that this has happened to. I've seen people destroy themselves because they couldn't accept the fact that they basically had no father on this plane. They wanted to continue to have a make-believe relationship with their father. They wanted him to continue to have a role in their lives. They wanted to continue to have Christmas with Dad, because they couldn't accept and mourn the fact that their father had failed them utterly. Not a little bit, but utterly. When a father molests you sexually, he has failed you utterly. He has failed his role utterly, and you have to let him go at some level. And when you go into therapy and when you talk to someone, remember that it is natural for every child, when a father abuses them, whether he does it by hitting them too much or by molesting them, it's natural for a child to blame himself, because this father is God, so he must be doing the right thing, so it must be you who's to blame for it. And when you realize that that's not true, that your father is too flawed to have done his job, it is just a terrible, terrible grief that comes over you, just as much a grief as if he had died. And I just want to warn you, as you go forward and you heal this wound, and I know you will, you'll heal it if you put the work into it and if you dedicate yourself to it, because you have to. You have this one life on earth, and you want it to be as joyful and as rich and as loving as it can be. And if somebody, and look, history has hurt us all. Every single one of us has been damaged by history. You have had a bad shot, and I'm really sorry it happened to you, but you will get past it. But one of the things you're going to find, I believe, that you have to do is you're going to have to mourn the fact that for some reason God put you in this position to not have a real father in this level. I hope you find people who fill that role. I hope God can fill that role for you in your life. I think he can, but you just are going to have to learn to live with that, because I've seen so many people destroy themselves trying to hold on to the illusion that their father is a father. And I just think a guy who puts his hands on his daughter or his son is in that way has just failed utterly and has to be let go in some deep emotional way. All right. That is a hard saying, man, because I know how tough it is. Believe me, I do know how tough it is.